G'day Internet, my name is Andrew Russell, and today I'm going to be demonstrating for you my new rack extension, dual CV source. Now, to demonstrate this, I have a simple Thor set up with a simple electric piano patch and a pulsar, which I'm going to use to gate the Thor. I'm going to take the output of LFO1 and put it into the gate. And that just gives us a repeated middle C. So if I wanted a different note, I can use dual CV source. So I'm going to plug channel A's output from the dual CV source into the note input of the Thor. I'm going to select note mode on the front panel, and I can just drag down to select a note that I would like to play. So I'm going to use an F sharp. Now, obviously this is a bit monotonic, so let's drive what note is playing from the other LFO. So I'm going to take the output of LFO1 and I'm going to plug it into the CV multiply in of the dual CV source. Now, as you can see, the signal's going negative, which is outside the note range for CV signals. And it's very chromatic and it's just in the wrong place. So what we can do to fix this, we can take another dual CV source and we're going to use this as an offset and multiply unit. So we're going to take LFO1 and plug it into channel B's multiply input on our second dual CV source. And so now channel B is going to act as our scaling factor. Just take the output and plug it in here, so I've got the same signal. So I can scale this signal down. And now we're using a much smaller range, and you can see that represented here in the display, not changing quite so much. Now what I can do is I can change the channel A mode, or I can add channel A to channel B. And I can move this offset around, so I can just put that about there. And now, as you can see, the notes are in a much more reasonable position in the range of the electric piano. But they're still chromatic, so let's fix that now. So I enable key snap, and that will just snap to keys. Now it brings up this nice piano that I can turn individual notes on and off, but I can also select a preset scale. So I'm going to select G sharp, and I'm going to select minor tetratonic. And I'll just bring the volume up now because now we're playing something actually musically interesting. But what's happening here is the note is changing while the gate is open. So we're getting multiple notes per gate, and it's re-triggering the Thor. So what we want to do is a sample and hold. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use channel A. I'm going to multiply channel B by channel A. I'm going to take the output of channel B and use that as the note input. And I'm going to take the other output of the LFO and I use that as a latch input. And now you can see the latch is opening and closing whenever the gate is open. Now, what I've implemented here is a track and hold, which means the value is allowed to change while the gate is open, whereas what we want is sample and hold, so the value only changes when the latch first opens. So I'm going to open up the advanced panel and change the latch mode to a rising edge latch. And now you can hear that the note is only changing once per gate. So now I've got this set up nicely. I'm going to just make some tweaks to my polyrhythm here. So that's sounding pretty good. But we can make it sound better. So I'm going to bring it, I'm going to go over to the back of the rack and I'm going to select one of the auxiliary outputs, and I'm going to change the mode of this output to a random value. And that random value will change every time the latch opens. And I plug that into rotary 2. And as you can hear now, every note is subtly different because we're modulating this time level of this particular electric piano patch. So if I reduce the range of my notes down to 0, you can hear that each note is actually subtly different. So it adds that little sort of human feel that makes it sound a lot more natural and a lot better. Now, one thing you can do with a polyrhythm like this is you can ground it in a more familiar beat, for example. So let's take a drum machine and we're going to just input a simple 4 to the floor rhythm. and then all of a sudden our polyrhythm comes alive, and you can sort of get a grip on it. So you've got the familiar to ground yourself, and you've got the unfamiliar and interesting in the polyrhythm. Now what this is missing is a little bit of high end. So I'm going to take channel 4 and I'm going to just put in a simple shaker. Now one thing we can do to make this more interesting is just delete a step. But another thing we can do to make it more interesting is the same thing we did before. We're going to bring in a dual CV source, and we're going to make the same change. We're going to go to a rising edge latch. We're going to take the random output and we're going to plug that into the pitch input. I'll just bring the electric piano down. So if this was all our track was, this is all very interesting, exciting, because we're going to get a random pitch value every time a note plays. But we don't want the shaker to be the focus of this track, so I'm going to bring that under control using this attenuator on the back of the device. Now if you were using a device that didn't have an attenuator like this, you can always use dual CV source as a simple attenuator. So that's brought that shaker under control. So the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use dual CV source for a simple sidechain compressor. So as you can see, every time that kick drum is playing, we're getting a positive signal here. So I'm going to flip channel A around to a negative value, and now we're getting a negative signal every time the kick drum kicks. I'm going to take the output of channel A and I plug it into the amp level of the Thor, and that's just going to bring down the volume of the Thor every time the kick drum is playing. But it's not bringing it down quite far enough. We actually need to go louder, which is not something we can do with this attenuator, nor can we go negative. So we're going to use dual CV source, and we've already gone negative, and now we're going to go to -2. So we've actually multiplied the output by -2, and that sidechain compression sounds a lot better. So that's everything that I have to show you today with dual CV source. I haven't been able to go into some of the features such as MIDI to CV, which is 4-channel polyphonic and has various options, as well as some of the other maths features that are available in the auxiliary outputs, as well as some pullouts for the MIDI. So if you'd like to have a look at that some more, you can find dual CV source on the Rack Extension shop, in the Rack Extension shop. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.